My name is Madeline. Welcome everybody to our third part of the Living Well Sleep series. We have Myrka here today who's going to talk to us a little bit about sleep hygiene. And honestly, without any further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to her so that she's got all the space to tell us everything that we need to know. I will keep an eye on the chat. If you guys have questions or concerns, just let us know. And Myrka, take it away.
Perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Myrka Lila, and I am a nationally certified group fitness instructor as well as a certified health education specialist. Currently, I hold the role as a health educator for University Health Services under the Prevention and Population Health team. Today, we are going to be talking about sleep hygiene, necessarily snooze or lose, talking about the importance of sleep on your overall health, as well as practical strategies you can take away from today to start implementing it into your sleep routine. I'm going to have you first start off with a quick survey. It should take you about 1 to 2 minutes. If you could please take that from me. We'll just wait here for just a little bit. And while you're doing the survey, for those of you who hopped on a little bit later, you are going to need a piece of paper or a pencil or something to write with. You can also use your phone notes section or your computer to write things. We're going to be doing an activity. Then as you complete it, you can just put a thumbs up icon on your picture so that I know that we are completing the survey, please. Plenty of time. We're going to go ahead and start with introducing some myths and some facts about sleep. So the first one is, if you are having a hard time falling asleep, lay in bed until you finally fall asleep. Get out of bed after 20 minutes of trying to fall asleep and try to engage in a relaxing, quiet, and low light activity. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves and say which one is a myth or which one is a fact, that would be awesome. If not, I can just continue. Is anyone brave enough?
Is the fact get out of bed after 20 minutes?
It is.
Yes.
It is. So our myth is if you're having a hard time falling asleep, laying in bed is just going to continue to reduce that sleep quality because you're going to be tossing and turning throughout the night. You should get out of bed after 20 minutes of not falling asleep and just trying to engage in something that's going to bring you some light into your night, as well as just having a relaxing and quiet activity. Can be done through breathing exercises, meditation, as well as reading a book or something like that. You're going to try to reduce the time you are on your phone right before bed. The next one. Alcohol can introduce drowsiness that makes it easier to initially fall asleep. The quality of sleep declines throughout the night. And then alcohol before bed improves sleep. It makes us more productive because we wake up earlier the next day.
First one is true.
Is correct. The first one is a fact. So it's going to include English. It's going to help you become sleepier at night. So it's going to make you fall asleep quicker, but the quality of sleep throughout the night declines. And that is why you wake up earlier the next day when you do drink alcohol. And then this is the last one. Napping makes up for the lack of nighttime sleep. A quick nap can boost your energy during the day, but it is not a substitute for quality sleep. Naps do not allow the progressions of the stages of sleep. The first one is a myth, and the second one is a fact. Naps are a good boost of energy throughout the day, but your body does not have enough time to take in those sleep cycles that go between the 90 to 120 minutes. So those are just some facts and some myths that we hear a lot about sleep. And we're going to continue on to the overall importance of sleep on our overall health. We have two sections that we're going to focus on. We're going to talk about physical health and mental health. Below, you will see the source that I got that from if you want to ever look it up. But we're going to talk about physical health first. So physical health, it supports your immune system, your metabolism, and your cardiovascular health. So having good sleep throughout the night is going to improve your immune system overall. It's also going to regulate those hormones that control your hunger, stress, and your growth. It's going to affect your appetite and your mood. This is why when we don't get enough sleep or we don't have good quality sleep, we become a little bit irritable throughout the day and we wake up super duper hungry. It also improves physical performance and reaction times, reducing the risk of accidents and injuries. So the more quality of sleep that we get, the more we're going to perform better. This can be academically. This can also be in your job or in your everyday life activities. Switching over to our mental health, it's going to regulate our emotional and mental well-being. People who are usually really exhausted are a little bit more irritable. They can also be a little bit more on high-end stress throughout the day. It's going to contribute to your anxiety, depression, and your cognitive decline. So if you're not having appropriate sleep throughout the night, same thing, your anxiety rises, you're more on edge, you're more irritable. Everyone might think you're just really tired, but it's because you haven't gotten that adequate sleep throughout the days. It also is going to enhance your learning, your memory, and your problem-solving abilities. If anyone has ever thought about it during work, you have that brain fog and you're really exhausted. You can't really think clearly or you can't remember what you did the day before. This is because of the quality of sleep. And lastly, it's going to help process and consolidate information from the day. So as a human, we compartmentalize things in our brain. And so when our brain is asleep, and it is when it's doing this activity. So if we're not having the appropriate sleep, we're not able to process and consolidate that information. So the overall importance of sleep on your overall health is just really important because it's going to actually create a longer lifespan and increase your quality of your overall health. And we do have two types of sleep. So I know you already reviewed this. We're going to go over it really briefly. So we have our non-REM cycle sleep and then our REM sleep. In our non-REM, everything decreases. So our brain activity decreases, our breathing decreases, as well as our heart rate. Our body temperature drops, so we get cooler, and we don't have that eye movement. It completely stops. This is where also, if you know you're sleeping, your muscles start to relax, and people start to, if you pick up their arm, that arm drops. And then it also helps repair your body tissue, strengthening that immune system and building that bone and muscle. So we do want to have areas of sleep where we're in the non-REM sleep cycle as well as the REM cycle. In our REM sleep cycle, this is where most of our dreams occur. So our brain activity, our breathing, and our heart rate and blood pressure increase. Our eyes begin to rapidly move throughout while they're closed. And then our muscles become limp. And so our arms and legs will become temporarily unable to move. And then it also helps with our memory, learning, and emotional processing. For the average human, we have about 4 to 6 sleep cycles throughout our night. That's going to range between 90 to 120 minutes. So that's why our naps are not always imperative of good quality sleep, because sometimes our naps are really short just to boost that energy and not necessarily go through all of those sleep cycles. We're going to start the activity by watching a small video, and I hope I have already done the settings for you to hear it, but someone let me know if you can't.
So you got 30 minutes less sleep than usual. That's not an issue, right? Our bodies are great at adapting to a little less sleep. But what if it happens again tonight? And the night after that? 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 This incremental sleep loss might not matter on the first night, but after a few days, you'll have accumulated quite the sleep debt, and it can make a big difference in your daily life. Sleep debt, also called a sleep deficit, is the difference between the amount of sleep you need and the amount you actually get. According to the CDC, almost 1/3 of Americans get less than 6 hours of sleep. This is despite the recommendation to get 7 to 9 hours. And chronically undersleeping can exponentially increase your risk of health complications and everyday difficulties. Now, we all miss an hour of sleep here and there, and it's no big deal. But sleep debt becomes problematic when we start frequently undersleeping. Let's say you sleep 6 hours on Monday, then on Tuesday you sleep another 6, and on Wednesday you have a rough night and you only get 5 hours. The week has just started and you're about 7 hours in sleep debt. You guys, that's like a full night of sleep. And you may be thinking, Faith, I never get my 8 hours and I'm never tired. What's the big deal? Well, accumulating sleep debt doesn't always result in feeling tired. In fact, one study showed that people can cognitively adapt to chronic sleep loss pretty well. But while participants didn't report feeling sleepy, their bodies showed dramatic decline in both physical and mental performance. You can avoid sleep debt by prioritizing sleep and thinking of it as a form of self-care. Without proper sleep, we can't be our best selves. Here are a few suggestions for staying on top of sleep debt. First, keep a set sleep schedule. Give yourself a bedtime like the good old days of childhood and stick to it. Keep a sleep log to track your time if that helps. Next, create a nighttime routine that works for you. Make your nighttime routine a ritual that you look forward to. Third, consider your daytime habits and the way they affect your sleep. Consuming caffeine and alcohol can cause poor sleep or prevent you from sleeping deeply. And finally, improve your sleeping environment. Create a cozy place to get snoozing. And if you do have to cut your sleep short, make a plan for recovering from that sleep loss. Napping in the afternoon or sleeping late on the days you can restore a boost of much-needed energy, even if not fully compensating for the sleep you get at night. But be careful not to assume that a little extra rest compensates for the sleep you've lost. Try not to vie for a false sense of rejuvenation. Overall, give your routine time. Even getting 15 to 20 more minutes of sleep per night can benefit your overall health and cognitive function. Research has shown that it can take up to 4 days to recover from 1 hour of lost sleep and up to 9 days to eliminate sleep debt altogether. A full recovery from sleep debt returns our body to its baseline, reducing the long-term risks associated with sleep loss. Sleep is important, so make a plan that supports your sleep routine. And if you need some help falling asleep quickly, we have a video all about that right here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sleep well.
Perfect. So sleep debt is the amount of sleep you need minus the amount of sleep you get. And so we're going to talk about sleep deprivation and sleep deficit. Those words are interchangeable, which is why they're, oh, hold on, I think, well, maybe. There we go. So the dangers of sleep deprivation. So taking care of your sleep right now is going to save your health in the future. There's different populations who are at risk for sleep deficiency. Some of those are being those who have ADHD, have been diagnosed with it. Those who are alternating shifts. So people who work day shift and then the next week they work night shift. And then people who have chronic stress. And so for these specific scenarios, please consult your doctor or professional in the field to know if you are going into that sleep deprivation. There's some consequences when we don't sleep enough. So we've already touched on a little bit of these, but we have increased tension throughout our body. So a lot of us hold tension in our shoulders. We hold tension in our lower back. We are irritable throughout the day. So things set us off really quickly. We confuse things throughout the day. We are not able to compartmentalize all of our information. We tend to be a little bit more depressed, or a little bit more sad throughout the day. We reduce our life satisfaction when we have an increased level of sleep deprivation. Our performance becomes lower throughout the day. That can be in our academic life or in our personal or in our performance at work. And then also it includes something called drowsy driving. So this is a fun fact. Well, I don't know if it's fun, but drowsy driving is the equivalent of driving intoxicated. So if you are ever driving asleep and you need, it would be great to pull over and sleep for a while, or maybe just try a different day and a different time to sleep. Now we're going to get to the fun part of our presentation. So for the next slides till the very end, we're going to unravel our sleep habits. We're going to start off by scanning that QR code. The QR code is going to bring you to a page where you will enter the time that you naturally wake up. And that can be when you have your alarm set to go to work, alarm set to take your kiddos on the weekend, and then you're going to put your age. So take some time to do that. And that's the first thing you're going to write down on that paper or on your computer if you're writing down. Perfect. We are going to be going through 5 different categories of unraveling your sleep habits. We're going to start off with the word sleep habits. So every word that I say, we're going to write down on our piece of paper. So you would number the number 1 and write down sleep habits. And just leave a little bit space so that you can write out a little few words or a description right under it. The second one we're going to talk about is taking care of your body in terms of what you are ingesting or putting into it. So writing down taking care of your body as the second category. The third category that we're going to go over is going to be physical exercise. Our fourth category is going to be our sleep environment. And then our last category is going to be our bedtime routine. And so just take some moments to write those again. I'm going to repeat them. So our first one's going to be sleep habits. Write that. Make sure you leave us some space underneath it. The second one is taking care of your body in terms of what you ingest. Third one is our physical exercise. Fourth one is our sleep environment. And then lastly, we're going to talk about our bedtime routine. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to go through each of these scenarios, each of these categories, and write down some words that are descriptive of your sleep habits in that category. So for sleep habits, it can be overarching and ruling about anything that you do for sleep. If you like to drink some tea, if you like to go on a walk, anything you already currently do, being very specific is going to help you throughout the entire presentation to be able to unravel those sleep habits and get those practical strategies moving forward. For taking care of your body, you're writing things that you ingest. So if you like to drink a glass of wine, or if you like to take a cup of tea, if you like to ingest a sweet food before you go to bed, anything you already do, go ahead and write that down. For physical exercise, any kind of movement you do throughout your day, and this is included in intentional movement. So time set aside either through your living well, 30 minutes that you get, or through your lunch if you're doing a walking lunch, anything that's intentional throughout your day that is considered physical exercise. For sleep environment, anything that you have around your house, in your bedroom. So if you have a night lamp, if you are reading, if you have a glass of water, if you have a cozy room, a warmer room, blankets, no blankets. And then for last time, the bedtime routine, you're going to write down anything you do right before you go to bed within 2 hours of sleeping. And so if you have families, do you put the kids to sleep? Are you making dinner for your family? Are you picking up doing chores? If you do not have a family who lives with you, are you reading a book? Are you watching TV? Are you on your phone? So just writing down those things in each of the categories and being as specific as you're able to. And I'm going to give you about, it is 9:17. I'm going to give you about 9:18, a minute or two to write down any words that describe those categories. About 30 more seconds. And feel free to also throw them in the chat. Something that you are thinking about might prompt somebody else to remember something they do before they sleep. So feel free to just talk to each other among the chat. Okay, we're going to move on. So in each of these categories, I'm going to be talking about things that you ought to be doing. So when you're looking at your sheet that you've written all these things for, at each and conclusion of each slide, we're going to go through and you're going to write a little arrow to the side and you're going to make changes to what you currently do to change them into things that you should be doing. And it can be something really small, and we'll discuss it moving forward. So our general sleep habits include different things that are essential for us to have consistent sleep throughout the night. We want to make sure that we're fixing that bedtime and an awakening time. So if we're waking up at 7 o'clock, we have that 6 to 7 hour or 7 to 9 hours beforehand to fall asleep and have a consistent sleep schedule. It is going to be more prominent. We're going to have more prominent sleep throughout the week if we try to stick to about the same time, roughly between an hour or so throughout the days. So if one day we're sleeping at 10 o'clock, trying to sleep between 10 to 11 the next day, or between 9:30 to 10:30. That way your sleep schedule is pretty consistent throughout the week. Our light matters in our bedroom, so we want to make sure that we're having bright light in the morning. So opening up those blinds so that we're able to see our circadian rhythm going and being like, okay, our body clock is working. It is morning. It is my time to wake up. We want to dim our lights before we go to bed just to signal our body to wind down. So I know that for me, before I hop in the shower, I turn all my lights off in my room and I turn my lamp on. So that kind of signals my body that it's time to get ready for bed. We want to stay away from that blue light. So that those devices before work, that includes our phones and our TVs. There is a setting on the iPhone that you can actually turn your blue light into red light. So if you are going to be scrolling through your phone, it's a better alternative. And then trying to read in dim lighting. So using a lamp to read rather than the lights being completely on. We can also try meditating so that we don't have to be on our phones. And then just regulating the circadian rhythm. That's going to come with our bright light in the morning and then our dim lights at night, making sure that our body knows that it is time to sleep or time to wake up. And it's really important now that our time change has happened, because now outside it gets really dark at 5:30. And so our body is starting to wind down before it needs to. And so making sure that we have our lights on in our room and our lights throughout our house so that our body is aware that we are still awake. And then we want to nap smart. So we want to limit our naps between 30 to 45 minutes throughout the day. So I know we work 8 to 5, but if at any point on the weekends you need a nap, try to limit those between 30 to 45 minutes so your body doesn't confuse it with a night's rest. Because once we hit that 90 minutes to 120 minutes, that is when our body starts going through stages of sleep, and it's going to take that as an alternative to our nighttime sleep time. And then sleeping only when tired. So again, one of the myths was that we stay in bed until we fall asleep. Try to get up, do something that's going to fill your cup, drink some water, put some meditating music on, put some calming music on, maybe read a book. And then when you start feeling tired, going back to that bedroom so that you can fall asleep. So now looking at your sleep habits, are there things you can change that you can make them into a better sleep habit? So just write a little arrow, write down some other words or descriptive factors of your sleep habits that you can change to make things better. So I know I did this presentation last week, and one of my students said, okay, I'm going to try to get blackout curtains and make sure that I open up my blinds throughout the day, and then have them closed at nighttime to induce that sleep factor. So just write anything you wanted to try differently. And just being realistic when we make these changes, we can't do all of them at once unless you're like 100% ready to take that on. Just think about 1 or 2 things that you can change to get that practical strategy down for the next week. And then after that, just like continuing that pattern. Okay, we're going to move on. So taking care of your body. So we're going to try to avoid and limit the following. We're going to try to do this between 4 to 6 hours before our bedtime, and that can completely change depending on if you have any other kind of factors that go into your health, to just talk to your doctor about that or your professional. But we want to limit our caffeine intake, really trying to stay more away from more than 2 cups a day. We want to have it early in the morning or before 2 p.m. That way our body can get the caffeine out of its systems before we go to bed, so that we're not inducing that sleep and that we're not getting or being more awake when we fall asleep. We want to prevent smoking. So nicotine is a stimulant, so it's going to keep you awake and it's not going to let you get that quality of sleep that you're looking for at night. We want to refrain from eating heavy, spicy, or sugary foods right before bed. So making sure that we're taking the time to really understand what we're digesting. So I know we're going to have that nutrition and sleep category coming up next, but just taking the time to really talk about our heavy, our spicy, and sugary foods. I know it's really fun and exciting to eat all the sugary foods right before bed, but that's going to decrease your quality of sleep throughout too. And then prevent drinking alcohol or other substances. So alcohol has an immediate sleep-inducing effect, so it's going to make you fall asleep quicker, but then your alcohol levels in your body start to fall and it creates a stimulant or that wake-up effect, which is why you wake up early in the mornings. So now going on that category, write the little arrow and write some things that you can try differently. And a good strategy here is that if you are ingesting something for a long period of time, it's really hard to go from 100 to 0. So trying just reducing it by a little bit too. So if you are drinking caffeine and you have 3 to 4 cups a day, can you try reducing it by 1 cup a day, and then slowly make your way to drinking it before the afternoon and then in the morning only, and then after you eat and then in the morning. So just really changing things slowly. That way it's more practical and you can actually continue to do it for your overall sleep. If anyone wants to share anything, you're more than welcome to always unmute. All right, we're going to continue on to physical exercise. So as I mentioned, I'm a nationally certified group fitness instructor, so this is my jam. We want to make sure we're moving our body throughout the day so that we can get great sleep at nighttime. So we want to exercise regularly. This is why Living Well is able to give you your 30 minutes throughout the week so that you can start exercising regularly and make it part of your schedule. It's going to increase your overall wellness, but it's also going to increase your sleep. So a brisk walk in the late afternoon can help your body feel more tired and help you sleep better. But with that, we do not want to exercise or do strenuous exercise right before bed. We want to make sure that we're doing that between 2 hours before bedtime so that we have the ability to fall asleep at nighttime. So if you are a nighttime worker outer, which I know some of us are, it is It is important that we understand that our sleep schedule needs to follow that within 2 hours of it. We don't want to hype our body up and release all those endorphins and then try to go to sleep. We want to make sure we have enough breaks for our body to wind down and understand that we're getting tired. So working out right after work and then going home and doing your daily task at nighttime and then falling asleep within like 9 to 11 p.m. is like a perfect ideal schedule. Same thing if you want to work out during your lunchtime or if you want to work out in the mornings before you come into work. Those are going to be the ideal times to work out. And then if you want to draw that arrow again and write something you can do. So if you are currently in the state of your life where movement is not something you intentionally put out in your day, can you start by doing a 10-minute walk before you eat your lunch? Or a 10-minute walk after you eat your lunch throughout the day. That way, it's something that you already know you're going to do. Keeping those tennis shoes next to your desk, putting them on, do a 10-minute walk. It can be in your building, it can be outside. Something small like that it's going to change and improve your overall health. We're not trying to make you go from 0 to 100 in the physical exercise realm, just because it's really difficult to do that and keep it sustainable throughout the weeks and throughout the months and the years. If you already do exercise throughout the day, can you try to be more intentional about when you do it? So if you are working out at 9 o'clock and then you're going to bed at 11, let's be a little bit more intentional and try maybe to incorporate our families into our workout. So if we have children and we put them in bed at 9 o'clock and they're having a hard time and you're having a hard time finding another area in your life where you can work out, can you incorporate them into it can start with walking. You can teach them how to do functional movements throughout the day. Including your family will also make it more enjoyable as well as including your friends throughout your workout. And so just draw that little arrow and do some changes that you can do right now or today to improve your quality of sleep. Take some time. So we have a few volunteers to unmute and tell us any sleep habits you're willing to change with the first 3 categories. I'm going to open up the floor for people to talk about it. Or if you have any questions thus far.
Don't be shy.
I know. Don't be shy. I promise I won't tell you anything. I'm trying to be here to help.
All right, I'll say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I tend to do little word games in the bed right
Yes.
as I'm going to sleep. So I'm going to try to do that while I'm still downstairs because I find that stimulating a little bit.
Yes. I
Um,
agree. I agree. Are you doing them on your phone, I'm assuming?
correct.
Okay, so if you can find the alternative too, if you still enjoy really doing those word games, if you can, like, let's say you're doing like Sudoku or you're doing like Wordle, I'm sure they have something that you can find in paper form and do it on the paper. So that's something that's important too, but that's a good one. Anyone else would like to share? Let's get 2 more people. I see some things in the chat. If Madeline, will you say them? I can't open it. I think people have said something.
Yeah, we had a question earlier about when is the best time to work out, but you answered that one for us.
Okay,
And then someone else shared that reducing that blue light and dimming the lights in the afternoon and evening would be really helpful for them.
perfect. Yes. So
Yeah.
if you have that iPhone, I'm not sure if Androids do that, but the iPhone does have that setting. I'm not the person to tell you where it's at because on my phone, I have it on a shortcut. But you can find that setting in your phone and turn that blue light to red light. And that can really start at least implementing that slowly. And then eventually you can get away from using those blue light devices before bed. Then if we can have one more person. It's really quiet. I can tell you mine. So when I first started sleeping better, I've always been advocate for a good night's sleep, but in college is really hard. So when I was a student, I would try really hard to just cut off my studying at a certain time. And so I said, if I don't know it at 12 o'clock, I'm not going to know it at 1 a.m. And I can still get that full like 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And so I would cut that off and being intentional about the activities I did throughout the day. Another thing that I do is I also like to play calming music before I go to bed. So I have a timer about 20 to 30 minutes to help me fall asleep with that calming music. And then it turns off for me once I do fall asleep. Okay, we're going to continue on to our last two categories. So our sleep environment. This is going to be, I think, the most crucial and most important for just anybody to go through. This is going to help us have that consistent sleep habits and then making them essential throughout the night. So we have four categories that we're going to talk about. Our first one is our bed. We're going to talk about our temperature in our room, noise and light, and then reserving the bed for sleep. So first one is our bed. We want to make sure our bed is comfortable. Depending on your body, some people like a more soft bed, some people like a more hard bed. So finding what works for you and trying things out. If you have had a mattress for a very long time, it might be time to look into getting a new one. So that can also decrease your efficiency of sleep, and that consistent sleep schedule is that uncomfortableness of your bed. Our next one is our temperature. We want to make sure we're sleeping in a cool room that is ventilated to be conducive of that sleep. So we want to have a cool room, meaning that we want to be enough or cold enough to where we want to cover ourselves and get that snuggle like effect when we pull that cover over us. We want to be able to breathe nicely when we're sleeping and just have that ventilated room. I know a lot of us probably use fans, so that fan noise can also help make us go to sleep. And then our noise and light. So eliminating as much noise and light as possible. So there's some things as our body that we can't eliminate completely. So if we have a night light on in the hallway, that's not going to completely destroy your sleep schedule. If we have that noise playing before we go to bed, as long as it's not throughout the night, it's not going to necessarily make it the worst time for you to sleep. But we do want to eliminate as much noise and light as possible throughout our nights. So turning on our lamps on and turning off the overhead lights before we go to bed in our bedroom, it's going to help with that. Eliminating noise, it just means like the TV, watching TikTok videos, watching Instagram reels, things of that sort, really eliminating that and getting our body ready for sleep and just making sure that we're like starting to wind down. And then reserving the bed for sleep. So our body we need to trick our mind to thinking that our room is just for sleep. So for those of us who work from home or study at home because you're doing classes as well as working, or you're just in the bedroom and you're doing things other than not sleeping, in terms of like, you do your laundry in your bed while you watch TV and things of that sort. We want to make sure that we're trying to refrain from doing that and making sure that our body is noticing that our bed and our room is for sleep only. So taking those chores outside of the bedroom and doing your laundry on the couch per se, or moving your desk outside of your bedroom so that you can study or work outside of it. That way your body is tricked into thinking that sleep is only in the bedroom. So now that you know some of this information, writing that arrow over and then writing some changes you can make to your sleep environment. Another thing for your bed is your pillows. Your pillows matter as well. You want to make sure you're in that 90 or that flat 90 degrees surface, like everything is aligned when you sleep. So you can also have different kinds of pillows depending on what kind of mattress you have. And then can we have one person give us an example of something they're willing to change or going to look into changing for their sleep environment?
Well, I know in one of our other presentations, temperature is something that was talked about. And so I started changing the temperature, and I have an infant. He's 9 months old, and we're
Mm.
still sleeping in the same room. But I started dropping the temperature by like, I think 1 degree, sometimes 2 degrees.
Mhm.
And I'll be darned if he doesn't sleep better when it's colder in that room. And then I get to sleep more if he sleeps better. And I was like, wow, 1 to 2 degrees is making all the difference. And like when the temperature in the room rises, he'll start waking up more frequently. And then I have to like go turn the AC down a little bit more. Um, and I have found that fascinating over the last couple of weeks, seeing how the temperature in the room and then if he's like fussy sleeping or good sleeping are correlating with each other.
And it's really interesting to see that like only 1 degree can make that much of a difference. But that's
Yeah.
why if you talk to certain people, they say their house is at like 68, 69 at nighttime, but during the day it's at 70 something. Because of that
Yeah.
reason, they try to induce that sleep. And I think it's really interesting. I love my room to be cold, so I have a fan going as well at nighttime, and I do sleep better because when I'm hot and restless, I like tend to take off the covers and wake up and then put them back on and then take my fuzzy socks off and put them back on and change throughout the night. I like will get up and actually physically change clothes because I'm sweating and hot. So it does make a difference, but that's a good one.
It does. We had someone in the chat share blackout curtains help them.
They do. And then just
Yeah.
a reminder for that, making sure that you're opening them up in the morning so that your body gets in that circadian rhythm of knowing when to wake up and when to sleep. But I too have blackout curtains. I'm telling y'all, I am an advocate for some good sleep. Okay, we're going to move on to our last category. So this is going to be putting everything together, lastly, for our bedtime routine and teaching our body when to go to sleep. So we've kind of touched at each topic throughout this presentation of what a bedtime routine looks like. So we want to make sure that our foods and drinks are making a difference for us to sleep. Having soothing drinks like warm tea, and I recently learned people like warm milk as well, can help induce that sleep. Foods with a high carb content and tryptophan can help induce sleep if we're eating them 1 hour before bed. This is why when you eat spaghetti, you're like, I'm so sleepy and so tired because of this reason. Tryptophan is found in different kinds of foods. It can be found in chicken, in turkey, in bananas, chocolate, oats, things of that sort. A little bit more of that heavier feeling before you go to bed can also help. And then high protein foods without carbs and heavy spicy foods can prevent sleep. And so eating really big protein or really heavy foods that are just like, let's say a big old steak, that doesn't have a lot of carbs with it can also prevent us from sleeping good. Spicy foods can give us that acid reflux and give us that tummy hurting before we go to bed, also refraining us from getting good quality sleep. And then having a routine for bath time. So we all are amazing people and we have that routine set aside for our children, but do we also have that aside for ourselves? So making sure that you're teaching your body the same bedtime routine every night until your body becomes a habit. And so it takes a few weeks to create a habit, but if you slowly start doing it, it eventually becomes automatic. So when I brush my teeth, I know that the next step is to take my watch off. And after I take my watch off, I know the next step is to plug in my phone, go to lay down, turn my lamp off. So you have the steps throughout the night that's going to get you to fall asleep. So starting with that bath time, getting your brain to know like, hey, when I go into the bathroom, it is my time to start unwinding for the day. So taking off my makeup if I wear any, taking down my hair, putting my hair up if I'm not washing my hair, putting out my clothes for the next day. That is your cue as in a habit that you're starting to fall asleep. Going to bed around the same time every day and waking up around the same time is also going to help you sleep better throughout the night and also just understand that this is the hours you're sleeping, so you know you're getting enough sleep. So I have some people that actually put sleep in their actual schedule. Like it's like from 9 o'clock to this time, I'm not doing anything other than trying to go to sleep and trying to get that routine down so that I can fall asleep. So consistency in that routine will help regulate your brain and body as well. So at earlier, we did the time where you put in your age and the time you wake up, and it should have sent it back to you and told you what time you should be falling asleep. So trying to stay within 1 hour of that bedtime sleep that it already gave you the time, and then just trying to increment that and getting closer to that time that it suggested so that you can get better sleep. And then pre-sleep exercise, things that you can do as well. So practical strategies you can do right before bed if you're having a hard time is thinking of 3 things that made you happy throughout the day. This is just going to bring back those endorphins and just make you feel good. And then also just ending the day on the happy note. Doing some deep breathing exercises. So you can do a box breathing exercise where you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, you inhale, and you go through that different breathing exercises. You can also do longer breathing exercises, holding your breath for a little bit, like when you inhale, holding it for longer than 4 seconds, exhaling slowly, and that's going to induce your sleep as well. Or doing some form of yoga or meditation, or even walking before you go to bed. That way you can also induce that sleep is really important. So just overall thinking of like things you can do throughout your day really matter to help improve your sleep at nighttime. So I know when we wake up in the morning, we're like, yes, we can do anything before lunchtime. And then once we eat, we're really tired. And then the rest of our day, we just kind of forget about. So making sure we're intentional throughout the day of things that we can do to help regulate our sleep towards the end. So it's same thing with this one, putting a little arrow over and then doing anything that you can do, changing, or you can even add to other categories, things that you can change today to make it better for sleep tomorrow. And then we can have 1 or 2 people share. And then if you like warm milk, I want to know. So I'm Hispanic and we do arroz con leche, which is like milk and cinnamon with rice. And I can do that because that's warm, but I've never tried warm milk by itself. So if you drink warm milk, let me know how it is. And I think a good one for this one, we can have 1 or 2 people describe anything routine that they already do before sleep. So, do you have a routine where you take off your makeup or a routine where you set aside your clothes? If anyone wants to share that, that'd be awesome. Or the chat had something, it just popped up for me.
Oh, someone is just agreeing with your love of the drink. The arroz con leche.
Arroz con leche. It's
Hmm.
so good. It's so good. And it has that carbs, it has the warmness, has a little bit of cinnamon. I think it's perfect. Okay, does anyone want to share? Everyone's like, nope.
I take my dogs outside for a final night thing, and then we just kind of cuddle a little. Then I go upstairs, go to bed.
That's so sweet. I love a good dog. I take my dog on a little walk sometimes. I have gotten really bad about it, but I try to take her on a little walk and then she gets so excited and then she has all the energy and I'm like, I'm ready for bed. So that's nice. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so right here, we're going to take a little quick stop. I want you to look over to the right-hand side where you wrote down all the little things that you can do to change it. And I want you to write down a goal at the very bottom of what and how that looks like. So be very intentional, like specifically if you want to do a SMART goal, it's going to be the best way to do the goal. That is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So you want to make sure you have a little bit of everything in your goal. But I want you to write down exactly how you plan to do this. So being very intentional of how you're doing it. So literally saying, I am going to turn the lights off in my room at 9 p.m. to help me induce sleep by XYZ. So doing 1 or 2 sentences in 2 or 3 different goals that you can do. That way we can start implementing those today. And then writing those down really pretty, really big. That way you can keep it with you and you can have that every day to look at and start implementing these strategies into your sleep routine. To take a few minutes to do that. And then if we can have 1 person or maybe 2 people tell us their goal and how you would like to be kept accountable by anyone in your life. I will start us off with my goal. very general, but one of the things I struggle with is I'm a very social person and a social butterfly. So I will say yes to everything. So my church friends are keeping me accountable of being able to say no to things that are not going to pour into me as well. And so I say no to a lot of things now. I've gotten better, but I used to say yes to everything and be awake till like 12 or 1 and then sacrifice my sleep. And so that's one thing that I'm working towards as well. And then we can have one or more person tell us their goal and how or who is going to keep them accountable. I did this to my students and I called on somebody. Should I call on somebody? I had this presentation last week and I called on people. I'm like, oh, we're going to talk, but I feel like this is really mean to do it. One person, come on, guys. And it can't be Madeline or Diana. Nobody? Okay, we're going to move on then. Okay, so here is going to be the discussion of the aftermath of a good night's rest. So when we do get adequate sleep and it's consistent throughout our weeks, throughout our days, throughout our months and years, this is what's going to be the benefits that come from that. So our first one is going to be we're going to have an improved mood. It's going to regulate our emotion by reducing that irritability and enhancing our overall mood throughout the day, throughout the years. We're going to be a happier person per se. Another benefit is going to be that it's going to enhance our cognitive function. It's going to allow us to increase those problem-solving skills and thinking on our toes. It's going to allow us to be more creative as well as increase our focus, whether that's in our workspace or in our academic lives or our personal lives. We're going to be more creative. And that's why people who are more creative probably sleep better. And then another benefit is we're going to have increased energy levels. We're going to replenish our energy and allow us to increase our productivity. So throughout the day, we're going to have spurts of energy. We're not going to be as tired because we're getting adequate sleep for our body to function at nighttime. We're giving that brain the time it needs to compartmentalize all of our data, all of the things we've done to make those memories, and then go out throughout the day to replenish our energy. Another one is going to be bettering our physical health. It's going to support that immune function, reduce inflammation, and lower risk of chronic conditions. So it's going to help our physical health overall as well. And then lastly, it's going to improve our stress management. It's going to regulate those stress hormones, enabling you to cope with daily challenges. So it's going to allow us to not be as stressed or as like on the edge every day throughout our lives. So these are some of the benefits that are going to come from good night's rest. So if you are having trouble with any of these 5 categories, let's try slowly introducing better sleep routines, better sleep regimens. That way our body can sleep better throughout the night and start seeing those noticeable differences throughout the day. And we're going to end on our takeaways and then talk about the resources University Health Services have. So the top 3 takeaways are things that were said in the video, as well as things that we discussed throughout this presentation. So the recipe for sleeping better. We want to make sure that we're scheduling that sleep as part of our daily schedule. This is very beneficial to keep a consistent schedule throughout the weeks, throughout the months, throughout the year. If it's important to you to put it on your calendar and say, this is my time, this is when I'm going to start sleeping, and introducing that to your family and putting it on a board. If you have children, I love children, so I work with them a lot. If you have children, putting them to put like stickers on the refrigerator saying they are doing their chores before bed, they're starting to wind down, you're taking away that iPad, you're teaching them the ways to get to better sleep. You can also implement other people of your family as well. The second one is being mindful of the activities you're doing throughout the day so that you can benefit your sleep schedule throughout the night. So being mindful of when you are going to work out, what are you putting into your body in terms of drinks or food, what types of food are you eating? There we go. I was like, English. What types of food are you doing or what are you eating throughout the day to get there? And then the last one is getting adequate sleep by having a bedtime routine is a form of self-care. So making sure that we're really prioritizing our sleep just to be nicer human beings throughout the day, but also just to improve our focus, improve our creativity, improve our irritability levels, improve our professionalism at work, and improve our personal lives too, on how we love our loved ones and things of that sort. So making sure that we're just trying to really sleep throughout the day and putting those little changes that like are going to make a benefit towards the end. So if you could please take some time to do this again, 1 to 2 minute survey, letting us know what you learned, if you learned anything, also letting us learn what is one thing you're going to change in your sleep habits moving forward. I'll give you about a minute or two to do that. All right. And then here are University Health Services. So we have different resources under University Health Services. We have our medical, physical health resource, our mental health counseling. That's going to be individual counseling or group counseling. We have prevention and population health, which is what I'm under. This is going to include all of our educational workshops as well as our outreaches that we do throughout the year with students in different departments on campus. We have our professional training that if you are wanting to be a graduate assistant or you're looking to do a doctorate or a master's program, you can look under that tab as well. And then lastly, we just integrated our collegiate recovery program. This is open to all people of Texas A&M. So if you know someone who is in recovery and would like to be part of that community, they can also join. Does anyone have any questions? And you have 9 minutes to yourself. You're welcome.
Myrka, thank you so much for
You're
being with us
welcome.
here today and sharing all of this wonderful information. And for you're just getting lots of accolades in the chat. And for anyone else on the call, our final part of our sleep series is November 19th, and that's going to be sleep and nutrition with Megan Wyndham. So if you've been joining us for the whole series, we look forward to wrapping it up. I'll stay on the call for a little bit longer in case anybody does have any questions or concerns that they just don't want to share. And then I do like the suggestion in the chat. We've got our now 7 minutes and we can take a little nap.
I love it. Love it. I can also stay on for a little bit and to see if
Okay,
anyone has questions.
perfect.
So cool how the baby just sleeps better in the cool weather.
It blows my mind. He slept pretty good last night. We're not sleeping through the night, but I
Yeah.
don't care. He is, I mean, I do, but I don't. I had to release myself of the pressure and the guilt of like
Yeah.
sleep through the night because a
It's,
lot of
yeah.
babies don't for the first 3 to 4 years of their life. But he does do longer stretches when it's a good temperature. And like when it starts to get hot, he gets kind of wiggly and squirmy. And, but then just like you were saying, like I do too. Like when I get hot, then I'm like trying to take layers off. And then I get cold and I put layers on. And then
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I try to keep it at around, we do like 72 during the day, and then it's like 70 is what it's set at night, but then we'll put a fan on too. So then the actual temperature in the room is reading a little closer to like 68, and that seems to be the magic spot.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love it. A cooler
Yeah.
house is definitely nicer at nighttime. During the day, I'm like, I don't know about that, but at
Yeah.
nighttime, I do
Well, and
enjoy it.
especially if I'm not there, I'm like, no, let's push that thermostat up a little bit.
That is so true.
Right. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's any questions, but there were lots and lots of thank yous. And I just echo that. Thank you so much for being with
Of
us here
course.
today. And everybody have a great, what day is it? Wednesday.
Bye. Thank you, Madeline.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.